Bayou Bets here on bet.nola.com. I'm Zach Ewing along with Jim Derry and Spencer the Guru Urquhart. And this is your weekend sports betting recap. Sorry, we're on the air a little bit late, just a few technical difficulties. So glad to be with you on this Monday afternoon. A lot of big sports betting happenings this week, guys. It's the Daytona 500 had an upset winner. The PGA event had an upset winner. We had the NBA All-Star game had some betting craziness. So listen, football's over, but we're not going to be short on things to talk about here.
Oh, there's plenty to talk about. There's college basketball, all kinds of craziness going on there. It was an interesting weekend for sure. And if you were like me, out at parades with the family, you didn't even see a lot of it.
Yeah, I didn't see too much.
It'll be the same way. So it'll be.
Yeah, Zach, we have a little delay with Zach, so Spencer, let's take it over for a few minutes.
All right.
And I mean, just talk about your weekend as well. And I know that you're big into auto racing and Daytona, and Bubba nearly pulled it off there at the end. Just talk a little bit about that wild finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was saying I didn't see too much Saturday, but yeah, Sunday I was locked in, especially on that Daytona 500. I was surprised at some of the names that were up there. A lot of young drivers. I was thinking the veterans could do pretty good, but a lot of them got caught up in wrecks. Just a lot of bad luck for guys like Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson. So those young guys took over, and Austin Cindric, he was just, for a rookie, he was amazing at the poise he had leading the field, because normally, like, you think a rookie, they might be behind and then come up and steal it. But he was the Pied Piper leading it the whole time and almost lost it to Bubba. Bubba made a good charge there despite having damage on his side. I was surprised that he was able to stay up front like that. But yeah, it was a thrilling finish. And Cindric definitely deserved it. He was a long shot, but he wasn't just some fluke rookie winner. This kid's going to be something special for years to come.
We look forward to seeing that. And if you're just joining us here on Bayou Bets, we're having a little technical difficulty. We don't have any slides to show you. We didn't have our opening credits. So we're working behind the scenes to fix some of that. And we hope to be able to have some of the slides that we normally have going forward, so you can see all the good things that we're talking about and betting on. I hope to fix that. Zach Ewing is behind the scenes to working on that. Devin Jackson is off today. So I'm Jim Derry along with Spencer the Guru Urquhart. Spencer, there were all kinds of things going on this weekend. There was the NBA All-Star game. I still don't 100% get how they finished the game like that. I know when they get to a certain point, the game just ends. But whatever, it worked for us here at bet.nola.com, because we had in our best bet segment the under. The under was the under. How we skated by on that one, I have no idea. It was 323.5. I looked at halftime because I was out last night. So I looked at halftime. It was 94-93 at halftime. And I said, okay, I guess I'm writing that one off. Went back to my business doing what I was doing with my family. The next thing I knew, I look and the game's over and we won by a half a point. How do you win with a 323.5 total and you win it by half a point?
Yeah, well, the fortune was on our side. We had been having some tough breaks there, like this week. I had a lot of tough things, like the Dustin Johnson thing, and so right. Just like, man, like what was going on? But luckily, last night went well, and then the hockey game worked out too. That went late Saturday. The Finland ended up pulling that off. So yeah, back in the green at least for the week.
It's a shame the Russians got beat. It's always a shame when the Russians got beat. I mean, it's just a thorn. I don't want to get political, but Mr.
Yeah, they don't even call it Russia anymore. It's like the Russian Olympic thing, or so. It's nuts. Yeah.
Don't get me started on that here on Bayou Bets. All right, we enjoyed all that stuff. Now, the stuff maybe we didn't enjoy as much as some of our golf bets. Now, we all know Uncle Big Nick, who's got a head the size of whatever screen you're looking on here, and probably 10 times that if you're not looking on an iPad or a computer. But he had a good week, but he didn't share all of his best bets with us because he did have Joaquin Niemann, who at 70-1 won the tournament. Not only did he win the tournament, Spencer, but he went wire to wire. And what a number that was for anybody that had any kind of cash on him. But there were some good bets that we did have. We were talking about Adam Scott finishing the top 20, actually finishing the top 5. But Dustin Johnson really let us down, who has done so well. And one of our best bets last week was Dustin Johnson. But he had such a poor week because, I mean, you can't expect it. He had finished in the top 10, I believe, 8 times in a row. And he hadn't missed a cut in, I think, 9 or 10 years. And here he just kind of stunk it up. Something we're not expecting from some who think is the world's best golfer.
Yeah, golf is just, I don't know how Uncle Big Nick does it, because golf, when I try to look at golf, I'm just like, this is so confusing. Like, I can't seem to get a grip on it, but I'll just go with what he says. It's like he seems to have like that Scotty Scheffler thing. Like, how did he call that? Like, it's wild, man. But yeah, that's something with the Masters coming up. That's something we'll have to start studying more, because yeah, golf, it's just getting started.
Yeah, it is. And the Masters is just 6 weeks away as we get into the non-football sports. It's always weird when we talk about it on Datitude, and we talk about it here on the show. But when football is ended and you get into a period where you're not sure what you're supposed to be looking at, and for bettors, there are all sorts of values. And let's talk about this upcoming week. And there's some things going on. I think the Honda Classic is this week in golf. There's some things going on. What is the auto race of the week before we get to some of the things going on in basketball?
All right. Yeah, this week, the NASCAR is back in action at the Auto Club Speedway in California. It should be a lot more back to normal as far as the usual suspects up front. As y'all saw with Daytona, it's just a lot of new faces pop up because of all the wrecks and chaos. It's a tough race to bet on, honestly. It's a race that I didn't put much on it because it's too unpredictable. But for Auto Club this weekend, it's a 2-mile track, more standard racing. Should be the guys like Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin should all be back near the lead. So yeah, I would say this Auto Club week will probably a better chance of making some money, because at least it'll be not so just straight up nuts.
There's no doubt about it. And so as we in golf, I believe, is the Honda Classic this week. We're going to talk more about that on Thursday show. I won't personally, because I'll be on vacation, so I'm sure everyone will miss me. But there are all sorts of things to talk about in basketball. Last night we talked about the All-Star game, and now one of the slots that we don't have to show you here, but we could talk about the NBA title odds. And interesting to see at the All-Star break, the Suns are plus 450. I'm interested to see, Spencer, how much that changes now that we have the news that Chris Paul is going to be out for a minimum of 4 weeks, maybe even longer. Could drag. I doubt it will drag into the playoffs, but you have to wonder how an injury like this is going to take its toll on a guy who I believe is 37 years old, is a longtime veteran of this league. Obviously, he was a New Orleans Hornet, for God's sake. That's how long he's been in this league. So what? And there we go. Thanks, Zach. What kind of what do we take out of this? 450. We know that's going to change. If you want to bet on the Suns, obviously you want to wait a little bit and see what the odds do.
Right, yeah, because it also might kind of throw off the chemistry of the team with no Chris Paul. Because prior to Chris Paul, the Suns are not even a playoff team. And now that they got him, they're the odds-on favorite to win it all. So I think I would wait for sure if you're going to bet on them. And if anything, they might be a good value if you wait, because 6 to 8 weeks, he should be back right in time for the playoffs. And then they might take him a little, but the good thing is the first round it should be a cakewalk. So, I mean, in the first round, they'll be able to get their chemistry back. And then by the next round, they should be back firing. So unless the injury would drag on, which I don't think it will, normally thumb, finger injuries are pretty straightforward. Once you recover, you're good. It's not like a ACL or an Achilles where it's easy to have a setback, or a hamstring type thing. So I'm thinking
it does take its toll, Spence. So you got to wonder how it will take its toll on a shooter. I mean, now we know Chris Paul, he's more known for his assisting prowess than he is for his shooting, but he still can get hot, still score in the 20s at times, and it can be a big factor. But it makes me wonder, at the Warriors at plus 475, you got to think, if you like Golden State, and you were wondering whether you wanted to bet them or not, I think you better do it now, because to me, with the Suns' odds going to go up, the Warriors' odds are now going to go down most likely.
Right. Yeah, because they're clearly the the top two in the West there, and then the East is still pretty wide open. I feel like the Nets and 76ers. It's like I don't know what to think of them. The Bucks and the Bucks and the Heat and maybe even the Bulls. Like the Bulls are right up there for the 1 seed, and yet they're not getting any respect. They're still like 30-1.
You can't go wrong taking a chance there. DeMar DeRozan has been lighting up the league right before the All-Star break. Zach, looky who's back.
I'm going to try this again. I don't know what the heck that was, and it's the end of a bad afternoon, so apologies again, but we'll try that again.
I think your equipment knows that you're about to go to Europe, and it just took off. You took off early, knows you're going to be gone, and says, you know what? We're just going to pack it in now. We can have a whole month off.
Listen, baby, you're coming with me. You're coming with me, laptop. So I hope.
Oh, I thought you meant me. I'm like, I'm coming to Europe.
Well, listen, my 6-year-old is convinced he's going to die in a plane crash. He's convinced of it. We have a little countdown on our fridge that we've had basically since the New Year, saying how many days it is until we leave. And he looks at it. I mean, this is morbid. He looks at it and goes, "Well, Dad, 9 days until I die."
Oh no!
And we're like, man. Jacob, it's okay, man. We're not, let's not speak this into existence here. But barring that, we're going to have a good time. And I did want to talk about, as I was trying to say at the beginning of the show, the number of long shot winners. And I'm sure you guys covered some of this. I had to restart and do all this stuff to get everything to work. But I mean, you look at some of the things that happened this weekend, and Obi Toppin winning the dunk contest, he was actually the favorite. So it was 2-1, but I threw that in there. Joaquin Neiman was 66-1 before the tournament started. Karl Anthony Towns was the last guy on the list to win the 3-point contest, and he won it. I had Luke Kennard. I was feeling pretty good about Kennard against Cat in the final, and then I got beat. Austin Cindric, you guys talked about, Daytona 500. Steph Curry was 9-1 to win the MVP of the All-Star game. And then I had to throw this one in there. My Tottenham Hotspur were 900 to beat Man City, and they did it too. So I'd have to get a parlay calculator out and tell you what you could have made with a $1 bet on all of those to happen.
So what you're saying is Luke Kennard is a Kennard.
I mean, it's okay. That was a really bad dad joke. That was a really bad dad joke.
That's only something somebody my age might even know what it means, or if you live on the other side of the pond.
I do appreciate a good dad joke, though.
All right. Let's progress here. I want to talk about college basketball a little bit, and I know this is a betting show, but we look at what happened this past weekend in LSU. Just my goodness, you want to talk about bad losses? I wrote in the newsletter on Saturday night for Sunday. I mean, there are bad losses, and then there's that one. I mean, and these are the kind of losses, Zach, to me, that can knock a team out of the tournament.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, I still think they're safely in at this point as long as they don't totally fall apart. But I'll say the one concerning thing about it was it's really their first bad loss with Xavier Pinson on the court and healthy.
Yeah,
that's what was concerning to me. Is he was out there, and we put it in our best bets. They go over 130.5 points, and you get a plus 130 boost. You just need them to win. They went way over the total. And LSU was rolling there for a while, and it just, it's difficult when your team doesn't have someone it can go to for instant offense. Cam Thomas last year for LSU, they always knew the last possession. That guy was either going to take the shot or he was going to draw the defense in and find somebody else open. They don't have that this year.
I also want to get into, and this show is in First Take, but what we saw at the end of the Michigan-Wisconsin game, and it's, I got to be honest. I am sitting here at, 4:20 in the afternoon, and I am shocked that Jalen Howard isn't fired yet. Am I the only one?
Howard, yeah.
Juwan Howard. I'm sorry. Did I say Jalen? I meant to say Juwan. I did that.
I don't know about fired, but he is going to get disciplined severely. I mean, he may not coach again this year.
Wasn't there like a huge fight?
Yeah,
you didn't see it?
Slapped the opposing
Well, I need to go
coach.
check it out.
Yeah, you got to go look. I mean, it's
for anybody watching needs to check it out too.
It's ugly. And it was a situation where they were ticked off at each other. I mean, as you can see, Wisconsin won the game as the game at the bottom there. They won the game easily. It was supposed to be a close game. Wisconsin ended up winning by 14. And the Wisconsin coach, Greg Gard, approaches Juwan Howard in the handshake line, and he had called a late timeout that Juwan Howard was ticked off about. So, you're up by 15 points. Why do you have to call timeout? But
at the same time, Michigan was fouling down by 15 with 30 seconds left. It's like, you don't have to do that either. And so they, it was just sort of emotions had reached a boiling point. And so they get in the handshake line. And you'll hear people argue against handshake lines. And this is why, because it's right when emotions are at their highest and you're asking them to go shake hands and have cooler heads prevail. And sure, 95% of the time they're going to. But
100% of the time in hockey. And that's a way more violent sport. I mean, never seen that. You never seen a fight break out in a hockey line, and they just finish cross-checking each other and busting each other's teeth out.
Yeah. Well, they fight each other during the game if they're pissed off. So that's
that's
the difference there. But anyway, the Wisconsin coach approaches Juwan Howard, and if you look at the replay, it looks like he was going to pull one of those. I'm going to hold your elbow while I shake your hand and talk to you for a second, and maybe try to cool things off. And it looked like Juwan Howard took that hold of the elbow as, get your hands off of me, and then put his finger in his face, and then a bunch of people get in, and then Howard reaches through the scrum, and I don't know if it was a punch, but it was I think it was an open hand hit, like a slap of either the Wisconsin head coach or one of their assistants. It was an ugly scene. Yeah,
it was an assistant coach, and I mean, to me, look, if you're a coach, whatever, don't put your hands on someone else. I mean, I guess that's where we are these days. But as well as I do that when you're talking to someone, and if you're trying to emphasize a point, or if something just happened, and I'm not defending anyone, were all wrong, if you ask me. But there are times when you're talking to someone, and sometimes it can be patronizing. But you go to talk, and you make an emphasis, and you put your hand on someone's arm. I've done it. Who knows? Hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times. You go up to someone after something like, hey, look, hey, I didn't mean for whatever, which is what I'm taking this as. I didn't mean for whatever. Let me explain it to you. And you get the slap of get your hand off of me. And then, okay, well, sorry. Now, that's not what Gregor did there. So, I mean, he's partly in the wrong too. But there is zero excuse, in my opinion, for, open hand, closed fist, whether you don't even if you don't make contact. I mean, because what you did, in my opinion, what he did, and I'm saying you, Zach, you weren't there, but what Juwan Howard did, in my opinion, is he incited a fight. Because if you look at the moments that came after the fight, well, then the players are fired up. Then the players start punching each other or going after one another.
And if coach did it, it's okay for me to do it. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem.
And there was no apology after, which is even worse. I mean, I could live with if you go to the press conference and say afterward, you sit there and you say, my head got hot. In the heat of the moment, things happen. I didn't like what he did, but that's no excuse for me raking somebody across the face with an open hand. I was completely out of line. I will accept any punishment. No, there was. Not only was there no apology, but it was almost doubling down on it. And the attitude that Juwan Howard had afterward, I thought was even worse than the slap itself.
Put it to you this way. If Juwan Howard was not winning games, if he had not been the AP Coach of the Year and won a Big Ten title last year, he would be fired. But as we know, it all works, especially in college sports. If somebody's winning, you're going to make excuses for them and give them.
You look at what Will Wade's been getting away with.
And so Juwan Howard, I would be very surprised if he gets fired. I do think he's in for a lengthy suspension, a big fine. He may not coach again this season. And listen, Michigan and Wisconsin both are going to have players suspended because they all left the bench area.
That's right.
And Michigan's kind of on the bubble. They got 3 regular season games left. I mean, this could cost them big time as far as this season is concerned. So it's interesting. I mean, it's it's.
That's why I could never be an AD, Zach.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess, and Juwan Howard's right at the middle of it. And I agree with you. He needs to come out and say that he was wrong, and sort of admit it. You know what it makes me think of before we get into the title odds? It makes me think a little bit, and of course we haven't seen the video. We don't know. Did Alvin Kamara's situation start because somebody put a hand on somebody else, meaning well, but emotions were high, and they'd been, in that case, you add alcohol to the mix. And somebody said, get your hands off me. And then all of a sudden,
get your damn hands off me.
That's right. So somebody else heard in the background that there was commotion going on. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. It does make me think of that. That doesn't make it better. That doesn't make it
exactly. Okay. And then in the end result, though, and the sad thing is, it doesn't matter what you do, how you finish off things and teach. You're teaching not so much for Alvin Kamara, but for Juwan Howard. You're a mentor of young men. I mean, is this the way you want your young men to think this is how we handle problems and situations? And again, heat of the moment gets to people. I understand that. So, I mean, it's never okay to slap somebody in the face or punch someone in the face or react with violence, in my opinion. But if you do, things happen, man up. And, I mean, it doesn't take more than 15 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, or however long you had the press conference to realize that you did wrong. But you're right. Alvin Kamara is about face the same kind of heat, and even if it doesn't result in jail time, it's going to result in a lighter pocketbook. That's for darn sure.
I don't think we'll see him in September, at least.
Nope.
So we'll see. Moving on to college basketball title odds, and again, Gonzaga's been the favorite for a long time. A pretty heavy favorite, and I would suggest people stay away from this before the tournament starts. You don't know. If you're going to bet a long shot, that's different. If you're going to bet Gonzaga, you're better off waiting to see their draw. Maybe wait till they lose a couple of games and those odds go up a little bit. Plus 450 to me is too low of a price really for any college basketball team before you even know what their tournament path is.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead, Spence.
With the way we had single elimination and 64 teams, anything can happen in Gonzaga over the years. I know they made it to the finals last year, but they've been in not as strong of a conference. They've kind of had a history of being a disappointing tournament team. So I know they're really stacked, but I wouldn't touch them at those odds.
Zach, I'll say that I really like. You're not going to want to hear this, but I really like.
No.
I mean, I'm sorry, but with two teams, I'm going to start with the one you don't care about first, and the other one you're not going to like. I'm a Duke. I mean, they were 1,300 to start the year. They're basically the same odds, a little bit better, 1,400. And I know they haven't been playing great as of the last couple of weeks, but you got to think Coach K is going to have this team piped up and raring to go when they get into the tournament. This is his last tournament. Hollywood script ending. I mean, I think Duke easily is the best odds on this board. The second best odds on this board. Close your ears, Zach Ewing. Kansas. I mean, I don't understand why they're 16-1. I mean, to me, Kansas and Kentucky are along the same kind of line of team. Again, I know you don't want to hear it, but it's true. And I tell you what, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, baby, they could be a nice price at 16-1. I know they could be 90-1, and I know you probably wouldn't bet on them, Zach Ewing.
Listen, I'm not above an emotional hedge, man. If I bet on Kansas, at least I win some money if those guys win it. But that's the only way I could stand it. So I'm not above that.
You know, we got to show this. I mean, Uncle Big Neck, we talked about his ego and how big he was, how big his head is, Spence, and he's not even here. And
he did not miss all the golf talk, though, I don't think, did he? You guys didn't cover it all.
I mean, we covered a good bit of it. I mean, Nick's, we don't need to talk about Uncle Big Nick anymore. He's already got his 5 seconds of fame on the show. He doesn't need any more.
He's got enough cash. He doesn't need the fame.
Exactly. He'd rather the fame, though.
Yeah. I will say one thing while we're on the topic of college basketball, though. So women's college basketball odds, most places, they put them up and then they leave them. And like when Caesars put the women's college basketball odds up, they'll update them when the tournament starts. But they put them up. They didn't even have LSU listed. So we actually asked them about that. Said, hey, could you put LSU in there? They put them in at 40-1. This is back in December or early January. Okay, they put LSU in at 40-1. LSU's in the top 10 now in women's basketball, and they're still 40-1.
Hold on, I gotta go find that one then.
I don't know that they're going to win it. They're still
40-1. How did I miss that?
They're not as good as South Carolina. Probably they're not as good as some of those other top teams. Louisville's right up there. But at 40-1, I mean, if they make the Final Four, you at least have a huge hedging opportunity.
Here's the only problem in women's basketball, and I've noticed this, it's not like other sports. Women's basketball, the favorite wins. It's not like 7 times out of 10 or 6 times out of 10. Favorite wins like 9 times out of 10. I mean, don't pick anything but 1 seeds in your women's basketball pool. It's not like men's basketball at all. Yeah,
I agree with that. Now, I will say it's changing a little bit. I mean, it used to be you could pencil UConn in every single
year. You could write
year.
the chalk down the line.
Now it's UConn lost to Mississippi State a few years ago. South Carolina was a favorite who got beat. Was that last year that Stanford beat them?
Stanford.
Yeah. So the favorites have not been winning at quite as high of a clip in the last 5 years. But you're right. I mean, LSU's good value at 40-1. I don't know that they're actually going to win it. However, if you put $5 down on them at 40-1 to win 200, and they make it to an Elite Eight or a Final Four, now all of a sudden you're in a position to be able to start hedging against that bet and guarantee yourself a profit.
And you got to say the number one overall seed is probably going to be South Carolina, I would think. And we've already shown, and I'm sure Zach Ewing knows who the team that exposed them a little bit. They proved that they are not invincible and they can be beaten. Who was it that beat them earlier?
It was Ole Mizzou.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to give you a little shout out there.
Now their men's team, don't need to talk about that. They're going to be at the PMAC next Saturday. But,
and if LSU, I'm not kidding. If LSU loses that game, I think they're out. So I mean that's where we are now.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think Will Wade gets fired.
It would make it uncomfortable. And Will Wade, just on paper, on results alone, does not deserve to be fired. But again, like we talked about, if you put yourself in a situation where the school's going to risk an NCAA investigation or something for you, you better be winning, because otherwise it's not going to be. And this is a great segue. I'm glad Andrew said this. They're undefeated in baseball because we do have college baseball title odds. And
3-0, baby. Beat
after
up on
one
Maine.
weekend of play. And LSU, when Caesars first listed these odds on Thursday, the day before the season started, LSU was 20-1. And listen, they only beat Maine 3 times. So I don't know. Now they scored 51 runs in doing it, but it wasn't a very high level of competition. But my point is they've already moved from 20-1 to 14-1. I don't know if that's just Louisianans showing Caesars that they're exposed on LSU or what the deal is. But it's pretty interesting.
I like Florida at 25-1, and I don't know how good Florida is this year, but I know that they're always pretty darn good. So, I mean, again, this is an uneducated opinion, but when you talk about college baseball and you think of the names, of course, we always talk about Texas, and now we always talk about LSU. We used to always talk about Miami, not so much anymore. The Stanfords of the world. Ole Miss has been pretty good. Mississippi State's always pretty good. But Florida, they're only a few years off of a national championship. What was it? Wasn't it back-to-back? Did they win back-to-back? Or they were in the
2017, they beat LSU in that classic championship series.
Yeah, and
I don't know if they won 2.
Anyway, they're always up there. Great team. And there you go. LSU is facing Louisiana Tech on Wednesday in baseball in Ruston. Yeah. The one thing that's different about baseball and basketball and football is in baseball, you pretty much play – LSU will play everyone. They'll play the UNOs of the world. They'll play Louisiana Tech. They'll play
Southern a couple games a year.
ULM, Southern, which is a great thing. So those are always fun to watch, and they don't always take those midweek games as seriously as some people would like them to. But hey, anyway, 14-1 for LSU. If they were just 20-1. Let's just wait a little bit and see what happens.
Wait for. I mean, if you want to bet a future, if you didn't do it at 20-1, wait for them to slump. And then that price will go up to 18-1 or something.
Exactly.
Although I do wonder if is this going to be the same thing as like women's basketball, where the sports books, they don't see a lot of action on it, so they just kind of set it and forget it, and those odds stay the same for a long time. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. All right, we do have Andrew says this is free agency talk, which will dominate March along with March Madness. Did Tom Brady come back?
He's not a free agent.
Yeah, I mean it would have to be he is. Sure he is.
No, it'd be a trade. It'd have to. The Bucs still have his rights for 1 more year, so
I thought he was on a 1-year deal.
Okay. Might swap him and Jimmy G potentially.
I'm off by a year. I thought he was a free agent after this year, but I mean, regardless, that makes the 49ers Super Bowl favorites. Obviously, if that were to happen, but it's still a pretty big if at this point.
There's as much of a chance as Tom Brady playing for the 49ers as there is of Aaron Rodgers playing for the Saints.
Which I think he's offshore. You can get him about 20-1, but play for the Saints.
There you go.
So that's
okay. 20-1.
That's about what you have. Okay. Uncle Big Nick, I hope you're still there because I'm putting in a little more golf here. Honda Classic odds. Sung J M is your favorite. A lot of the big names take this week off, but you do have a Koepka in there. Neiman is back after winning last week.
Oosthuizen.
Yeah, Louis Oosthuizen. So Uncle Big Nick, give everybody a pick, man. I'll call Tom. Oh, he's still in the 49ers.
Yeah. I'll tell you. I'll tell you a good pick looking through some of us cheating off of Uncle Big Nick's notes. I think he is going to like Aaron Wise this week. It's Monday. Yeah, we know. We don't care if it's Monday. You want to be a part of this show, buddy, whether it's via message or whatever. You need to give us some good info. And our next show is Thursday. So by the time we have another show, it'll be long over. But going through some of these lists and seeing who fits the mold of maybe a potential winner, just me from what I see, and trying to read Uncle Big Nick's mind. And he's won 4 straight outright winners. Now he doesn't just pick one. So early lean is harmony, he says. But I like Aaron Wise going into this week. He fits a lot of the molds. I'll at least put him in some top 10s for sure.
Harmon at 33-1. Mark it down.
Wise is 40-1.
And this is one of those. This is one of those weeks where the favorite may be worth a bet too. A lot of times in golf they're not. But Sungjae Im, along with Koepka, probably the 2 strongest in this field.
I will tell you this though. Uncle Big Nick said, and I quote, "I wouldn't bet Sungjae Im at those odds with your money."
Oh,
so anyway, to the question of Andrew Carter, the Zurich Classic is April 18th through 24th.
Yeah, I think it's actually the days of actual play are the 21st through 24th.
24th,
so,
right?
Yeah. That's the Sunday is April the 24th. Week before the NFL draft.
A lot of people don't like the Zurich Classic because they have a weird format. So it is not your typical PGA tournament format.
Yeah, it's a team format. It makes it a little more difficult to bet on.
That is the week after the Masters, I believe, as well. So there won't be you're not going to have a lot of the best names are not going to be playing in the Zurich.
I think it used to be the week after the Masters. Now there's like 2 or 3 weeks in there. So
I don't think so. Well, 20, yeah, you're right. You're 2 weeks after. 2 weeks after now.
So it's a little bit better. So Nick also says Chris Kirk, but we will have coverage of the Zurich Classic when that comes in April. That's the week before the draft. Always a fun time for the sports department. Always a little crazy. Let's take a look at some best bets. Spencer did best bets for today. Here's our recap. Somehow we landed on 20 cents below even for the week after everything was said and done. I don't know how we managed to do that.
That's quite an accomplishment, actually.
If we cost you a couple of dimes, well, we were pretty far down there for a little while. So
yeah, we made up for it a little bit. And yesterday, Spencer and I were talking while you were off the air, Zach. I don't know how we got lucky with that NBA All-Star game under, but I'm not going to look the gift horse in the mouth because I still don't understand how they figure out when the game's over or whatever. But thank God they ended it when they did. And LeBron, thank you for hitting the game winner. And we hit the under on a 323.5 point under. We hit it by half a point.
Well, here's the thing, and this is my rant because I was off the air, and I know we're running out of time, but I had a couple people I tweeted about, went under by a point. Actually, the closing line was 324.5, so you were under by a point and a half.
Actually, I got it at 325.5.
Yeah, and so but I had some people complain to me on Twitter, "Oh, this is rigged. I bet the over. How did I get screwed?" Well, listen, this is the same thing with what was it? The Pebble Beach cut a few weeks ago. We were all ticked off because we lost some bets because they changed the rules on the cut. Well, when you bet, you got to know the rules. I mean, if you don't know the rules, you're just hoping that it works out in your favor. And in one case, it did for us. In one case, it didn't. But the rules are that at the end of the third quarter, whoever's winning the game, which in this case, it was Team Durant, had 139 points. You add 24 to the winning team's score. That gives you 163. Okay, so whichever team gets to 163 first wins. So at that point, if you had under 323.5, you were in pretty good shape, because you would need to get to it where it was. Now, that doesn't mean it could be 62-62 and somebody hits a 3. 162 and somebody hits a 3. And then you get up to 327 and the over hits anyway. But the fourth quarter, the first 3 quarters were all 90-plus points. It was like 98 points, 94 points, and 90 points. So you were on pace for a 360-point over if you were just looking at it as a traditional game. But the fourth quarter is always going to be lower scoring, because it's a tribute to Kobe. They add 24 points to the winning team's score at the end of the third quarter, and that's the target score. So the target score could have been 173 or 183, and then it's going to go way over. But you have to get there by the end of the third quarter to make the target score that high. So again, if you're betting these things, you got to know the rules.
I'm glad I didn't know, because when I looked at the score at halftime and saw it was 94-93, I'm like, oh, God, I'm going to get destroyed. And then somehow looked at it again after. I told Spence, I looked at it after, and hey, luck is better than whatever the hell we've had lately.
Sometimes better to be lucky than good. But
Yeah.
I mean, even then, if you look at the live total of that game, it never got above about 330 because the people, people understand how this works and they're the ones setting the odds. That thing was never going to get up to 360, 370 because the fourth quarter can't be more than 50 points. I guess if one team's 20 points back and comes all the way to get to the target score first, then you could have more than 50 points.
You have to wonder how many. You have to wonder how many points, how much money Vegas made out of that deal on the live score, and for people that didn't understand that, because I didn't understand it. I don't watch it, so I don't know. But I mean, it's a bunch of. It's kind of crazy with me, but yeah, I mean, you got to wonder how many people just bet that's definitely going over. I can't believe that's
especially because an All-Star game in the first three quarters, you see these guys not playing any defense. This game's going to go to 400 points, and then in the fourth quarter, not only is there a target score, but all of a sudden they do start playing defense. They start carrying. In fact, the fourth quarter of the NBA All-Star game is by far the best of any All-Star game in any sport because there's actually people care. Like all of a sudden you see you have the best players, like the baseball All-Star game. The ninth inning of the baseball All-Star game is some great closer facing some backup third baseman who's on a hot streak and got named to the All-Star team from the Reds or somebody who only had one All-Star. And so they had to throw, and you're like, well, how is this? Like, it's a one-run game and this is exciting, but like, here's this guy who will never again be an All-Star and he's got to face, Kenley Jansen in the ninth inning. Like he's going to get destroyed here. And in the NBA, meanwhile, you have Durant going one-on-one against LeBron. And it's fantastic.
Rock Mitchell's got a tip for us. He says he always bets the Nets with the points 3 minutes or less in the fourth. Kyrie gets cooking, and it's payday. He's 4 for 4 with it.
You got to make sure Kyrie's playing first.
Right, so it's got to be on the road. Right, Spence? It's got to be on the road.
Yep. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, because the Nets, they always they start off bad, and then they seem to get going late.
I like that. Andrew asks if New Orleans hosting the college Final Four. Yes, they are hosting the men's Final Four. So that's April. The first weekend of April is the Final Four in New Orleans. Second weekend of April is the Masters. And then it's the third weekend of April is the Zurich. And the fourth weekend of April is the NFL Draft. So April's a great month.
The word is my boss is trying to see if we can get credentialed. I don't know.
I'm putting a few bugs in ears and seeing what's what about that. So we'll see what happens. Hey, Jim's going on vacation. Happy Mardi Gras, Jim.
Yes, sir. Cruven Demian, come yell at me.
Spencer and I will be back on Thursday for At the Book along with Devin Jackson. And then next week, I'll be here for Bayou Bets next week, and then I'm taking my vacation after that. So it gets a little choppy here, but we will have coverage for you on bet.NOLA.com of March Madness, golf tournaments every weekend, and then as we get into that big time April with the Masters and with the Final Four in New Orleans and the Zurich Classic and the NFL Draft. So we have a lot to talk about, and hopefully, by the way, baseball players and management met today, and the meeting went longer than 15 minutes. So maybe there's hope yet.
23 minutes. We should have an over/under on how long meetings last.
No, I mean, I think
something else to bet on.
They were like more than 2 hours today. It would have gone over any prediction. So they are actually having a conversation. So they've got about a week to go before the regular season would have to get delayed. Deadlines motivate people, so maybe we'll get somewhere.
I can't do much. I don't know about you, Spence, but I can't go through another no baseball. I mean, this will be the second time in 3 years we didn't have baseball in April and May, and I can't do that again. I don't know about you.
Yeah, man, that'd be tough. Hopefully they get this done because I was studying depth charts the other day trying to get ready for fantasy baseball, but there's just so many holes on all the rosters because so many players are still free agents. So it's just, it's a mess right now. They need to get that resolved.
And so we will have plenty of fantasy baseball stuff too when we actually get a season start date and where the free agents are going and all of that. Andrew, women's Final Four is in Minneapolis this year. So that's if LSU goes on a run, they're headed up north. Yeah, a little cold up there. But the men's is in New Orleans. The women's Final Four was supposed to be in New Orleans in 2020. So I do wonder if they're going to get a makeup date at some point in the next few years because it was supposed to be in New Orleans the year it was canceled.
Yeah, they probably will.
Anyway, this has been Bayou Bets on bet.nola.com, brought to you by Caesar Sportsbook. Again, we'll be back Thursday, Spencer and I with Devin for At the Book. And then we'll be back on Bayou Bets next Monday at 4 o'clock. So tune in. Be well. Happy Mardi Gras to everybody. For Jim and Spencer, I'm Zach. Have a good one.